What's up, everybody? My name is Sid, and I've teamed up with the big homie Reg to bring y'all something new, something we like to call Beyond the Scoreboard. Y'all be sure to review, rate, and subscribe. Let's get to it. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard. As always, I'm Sid. What's going on, Reg?
Sid, what's going on, my man?
Nothing much. Making it, bruh.
Yes, sir.
Man, we are going into the final game of this football season. That's crazy. This season seemed to have flown by, man.
Already.
But we're going to start with the big trade that happened over the weekend. The Detroit Lions getting a haul for Matthew Stafford by sending him to the Rams for two first-round picks, a third-round pick, and Jared Goff. What is your thoughts about that trade?
I was so ready to talk this trade because, for one, I've been seeing a lot of people reactions on social media. A lot of people feel like they gave up too much. A lot of people feel like they didn't get enough, actually. I think this was a perfect trade for both teams. If you're the Lions, I just felt it was impossible to turn this down. Like you just said, two first-round picks and a third, and you get Goff. A lot of people forget, Goff, I don't want to say led a team to the Super Bowl. However, he was a quarterback that had something to do with his team being successful and making it to the Super Bowl. He actually played great that year.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
Todd Gurley was the focal point on offense. However, Goff did play tremendously well that year. So if you're the Lions, like I said, there's no way you could turn this down. Let's say, for instance, Goff goes and he's decent. He's a top 15 quarterback. They start to bring pieces in. You got all those additional draft picks. It makes sense. If you're the Rams, you're looking at it. You just feel like you're that one piece away. Just so happening that one piece is the most important piece in football, which is the quarterback position.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys. I do not like teams that have everything in place except for a quarterback. I don't like teams that do that year after year, like the Bears pretty much have been doing these last couple seasons. So, look, what good is that pick going to do for us if we don't have a quarterback?
Exactly.
They had to bite the bullet. They had to go ahead and get this deal done. They did. I'm very excited to see Stafford in that role with the Rams. I'm more than sure he's going to knock it out of the park. I expect him to be a top 7 to 10 quarterback next year. And I expect the Rams to go places. I expect them to, it wouldn't surprise me if they represent the NFC in the championship game.
The first thing I want to address is for anybody who says the Detroit Lions didn't get enough, stop it. Like I don't know what more I don't know what y'all think Matthew Stafford is, and that's coming from somebody who I say Matthew Stafford gonna end up in the Hall of Fame before he even left Detroit. I'm saying he's gonna end up in the Hall of Fame, but for him to fetch Detroit two first rounders and a third rounder and a quarterback who can be their future.
You can't turn that down.
Yeah,
no way possible.
You can't get no more than that. And you weren't getting there from any other team because, in my opinion, the Rams basically overpaid you in order to take Goff off of their hands.
Basically.
Not because he's a horrible quarterback, but they say him and Sean McVay had ended up bumping heads. Like they not getting along no more. So look, if my head coach and my quarterback not getting along, then
right.
we choosing one or the other. In this case, you choosing McVay 100, every time. So I agree with you on this trade, man. This was a perfect trade for both teams.
Yeah.
I want to say the Rams. I want to say the only first rounder that the Rams have on their team is Aaron Donald. That they drafted on their own. And now they don't have another first rounder for another 3 years. 3 years?
I think it's 3. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they have a team that's ready to win now. And in everybody's estimation, they were either a really good running back away or just a better quarterback away.
Yeah.
And they went out there and they got a better quarterback. A quarterback whose success won't be reliant on what their run game gives them. I see Matthew Stafford as being an MVP candidate next year.
Yeah, and I said the same. Yep.
You putting him into a position that he's never been in. Yeah, he had those years with Calvin Johnson, but you always looked to the other side and said, well, who's over there? Now you put him in a situation where he has one of the best wide receiver duos in the league, and then he has two very respectable tight ends, along with a guy I know you're real big on, Cam Akers, who came along towards the end of the season. I know right now the Rams sit at third favorites to win the NFC next year, and that's about right to me. Behind Tampa
Right.
Bay and Green Bay, the
Hmm.
Rams. From what we say, if they don't make any other move throughout this offseason, I see them. They put themselves in a position to be Super Bowl contenders for next year. So
Yeah,
I
I
definitely,
definitely agree.
I love the trade for all parties involved, for Detroit, for the Rams, and for Matthew Stafford. He got to go somewhere where he wanted to be. Detroit did right by him in those regards, and like I say, they came out big on that. You
Yeah.
know.
And I just want to clear it up because I speak sports with a lot of people, man. We all have those folks at work, those two or three people in your phone contacts who gonna hit you up about every trade that happens.
Yeah.
So I've seen this differently than a lot of other people I speak sports with, and I just want to clear it up. I'm not saying that this was the best choice for Stafford, or I'm willing to give up what the Rams gave up for Stafford if I'm any old team.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for the Rams,
Yeah.
this makes sense for the
Hmm.
Rams.
Yep.
Not for every team in the NFL, but for the Rams, this makes sense.
To me, there's only one other team that would have made sense for, and that's the 49ers. If the 49ers had given up the same type of deal, two firsts and third,
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Garoppolo, I can see it because once again, they're a better quarterback away.
Mm-hmm.
And they have everything else. They have the defense. They have the playmakers on offense. So the Rams and 49ers, those are the only two teams that I could have seen a deal like this and been like, you did
I
right.
could
You know?
I can throw a couple other teams in there for me. It was San Francisco. Anybody who speaks sports with me knows I feel any quarterback that is a tier two quarterback or above will be lights out in San Francisco. I feel like San Francisco offense would be better for Stafford even more than the Rams offense. But the other teams that I feel like that could have done this or something very similar to it was the Chicago Bears, the Indianapolis Colts. I feel like they need a strong arm quarterback to make that offense go, and I think Stafford would have been lights out over there as well. Um, we said the Colts. Who else we got? The Colts, San Francisco, and the Bears. That's about it for me.
And with the Bears, that's a division team. You knew that wasn't going to
Yeah, he
happen.
wasn't going. Yeah, but
unless Lil
they've
Mack
been a quarterback
came
away.
across the table, that one wasn't going to happen. And with
Yeah,
the Colts, I disagree just because of how well they are with drafting. Like over the years, bringing in Quentin Nelson and Darius Leonard and guys like that with that first pick. Man, you don't give up. You don't give up. Two more of
they
those, especially
they
when you still got other places on that team that they're gonna have to address,
yeah.
especially on defense now,
And
because
see,
you can't.
the Colts only went that way because Andrew Luck got beat to hell. That's the only reason why they
Mhm.
been drafting the way that they've been drafting
Yeah.
to form that great offensive line. But other than outside of that, they haven't had great success. But I just had a conversation with a very good friend, Sean, and we spoke probably for 45 minutes easy, just like how our conversations go. And I don't care how good your team is, just like I told him, I don't care how good your team is, unless you have a quarterback who you can somewhat count on, that means nothing once the playoffs start. I just feel like the Bears defense can be lights out. They're not going nowhere with Mitchell Trubisky. And I don't want the coach to fall to that is another thing. I really feel like they can't bring any old body, or for what they're picking in the draft, they can't just sit back and try to let a quarterback fall, in their lap.
Yeah, they definitely can't let a quarterback fall in their lap, but I think that they could give up way less to bring in a Wentz if he absolutely becomes available, or bring in a Sam Darnold. And I think guys like that, even Jimmy Garoppolo, if he ended up
Mm-mm.
parting ways with the 49ers, he could absolutely
Man.
work in that system.
Yeah. I
Coach,
don't
don't
like none of
give up
those
too
guys.
much to get a Matthew Stafford when you could have got a Goff,
Yeah.
and been successful with that. I don't
Yeah.
I don't feel like they needed to overpay to get somebody of a Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, and that's where we kind of disagree because
Yeah.
if I feel like I'm a quarterback away, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying
And
that
that's
was
what
the
we
coach.
disagree. I don't think the
Yeah,
Colts are a quarterback away. I think they still
okay,
have more that they have to form with their team, especially
okay,
on the defensive side. Yeah, that's why I say you
yeah,
don't give away those picks when you have
yeah,
other needs that you still need to be addressed. Yeah, I don't feel like they're a quarterback away.
yeah,
Those
and I feel
like
like if
I
the
think were the Rams and the 49ers. I feel like those
mhm,
teams for sure are a quarterback away, and now
mhm,
the Saints. But I knew that we weren't going to, not this early in the offseason to be able to pull off anything like that. So,
Yeah, definitely.
the 49ers and the Rams were the teams that I felt like, oh, they're a quarterback away, go all in for them.
I got you. Yeah, man. I just feel like the Colts had such a great year this current year that we're still in, that losing Phillip Rivers to
Mm-hmm.
retirement, if they get a quarterback, they can be right there. They were right in the hunt even this year. I
Yeah.
mean, they were in the hunt. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So in order to get back to what you've done this year, I'm saying you have to bring in a quarterback. And I don't feel none of those guys can do what Phillip Rivers done this season.
Yeah.
The Jared
On
Goffs, the
that.
Carson Wentz, and
Yeah. That's
I
what we
don't see
can
that.
agree.
Yeah,
And,
I don't
and
see
even
that
more
going
so,
in.
the Colts had a defense that overachieved. So
Definitely.
that's not going to happen again next season, most likely. So
Mm-hmm.
then like I say, you're gonna have to, address some more things than that.
Yeah.
So just, staying on the topic of quarterbacks in this offseason, because this
So many of
offseason,
them.
this offseason more than any that I can think of recently, man, I saw Adam Schefter say he was setting the over under at 18 quarterback changes this off,
Mm-hmm.
and that seems about right, honestly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Already got the Matthew Stafford one. That one's already done. So that's the Rams and Detroit switching quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You got Deshaun Watson saying that he wants out.
He
Uh,
will get out.
Brees has retired, or
Mm-hmm.
we expect Drew Brees to retire. So yeah, there's going to be a whole lot of quarterback movement going on. Let's start with Deshaun Watson,
Yeah.
the biggest
Mm-hmm.
and best out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about him and his situation? Because I saw something today that made me change my position on
Wow.
what he has going on right
Wow. Okay. I'm very anxious
now.
to see where this is going. But like I've told you in the past, I feel like Deshaun Watson is getting out.
Yeah.
This guy to me is as far as talent goes, he's a top 5 quarterback. I love Deshaun Watson. I was big on him in college. He was one of those players that I did follow that I thought the world of. And
Mhm.
I just going back to speaking with Sean, like I've told him, if Deshaun Watson would have went to KC over Pat Mahomes, whatever, and KC would still have had the success they have had drafting Deshaun, it would have never surprised me. I
Yeah.
really think the world of Deshaun Watson. I don't think there's a pass he can't make. To me, he's for what I've known to be a leader on and off the field. He
Yeah.
doesn't get in trouble, none of that good stuff. He's not going to be the reason you lose ball games. It's just that he was drafted by an organization that was headed in the wrong direction. I have no faith in their front office. The front office they had, the front office they have now.
Yeah.
Obviously, he don't want to be there. And I hate to compare sports because they're so different. But just like I was speaking with you about the James Harden situation,
Mhm.
and once it got ugly, I said, "Oh yeah, he's gonna get out." Once players start saying certain things,
Yeah.
you can't go back from that.
Mhm.
So I definitely think that they have to move on from Watson. They're saying all the right stuff. Oh, he's our guy. We don't want to move on.
Yeah.
That's what they're supposed to say. But realistically, not only do I think he's going to move on, I think he's going to go to where he wants to go, and that's New York.
So at the beginning of all the way up until this morning, I
Mm-hmm.
was on the side of he's going to get moved. He's going to fetch them the biggest haul that we've ever seen.
Yep.
And it's gonna be just like the Matthew Stafford situation where both teams come off well with the trade. That's how I feel
Mm-hmm.
about it. Whether it's the Jets, whether it's Miami, no matter where it is, the Houston would get enough back from Deshaun Watson to set themselves up to really rebuild, which is what they're going into right now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I read an article this morning, and just like the James Harden situation, we talked about Deshaun Watson a while ago, right after the James Harden situation had concluded. And I was saying Deshaun Watson isn't James Harden, which when we first started talking about the James Harden situation, I didn't think James Harden was James Harden. Like I didn't think I told you once the season started, James Harden would die down and let it go and stuff like that, and that's not what happened. Cool. I don't think Deshaun Watson is that type of guy to make that type of fuss going forward. And I posed you the question. I said, so what if they don't want to trade him? Then what?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
he's gonna go out there and play football. Like if
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna go do that, and it kind of seems like they're willing to do that right now. Because I'm hearing all the same things that you're hearing about. No, he's our guy. He's who we want to roll with. That's who we plan on having next year. And I saw it the same way as you did. As man, they saying the right things, but behind the scenes, they got to be working to get this dude out of here.
Right.
He doesn't want to be here. And I read an article today via Bleacher Report saying how they're really out here turning down people's calls. No, we're not trading him. No, we're not interested in whatever package you put together. Like, no, we're going to stick with Deshaun Watson. Do I think he's a Texan throughout the next season? No. But now I feel like the trade gets done later rather than sooner.
Yeah.
And what that does for what they can give, they're probably shooting themselves in the foot by going about it this way. Because by week 2 or week 3 of next season, you finally decide, look, we just got to get rid of them. Then you've lost out on a whole lot of suitors and a whole lot of what you could have gotten for them now. But when you have a talent such as his at that position, I can also understand why you're gonna try everything in the world that you can to convince this dude that this is still where you want to be.
Yeah.
So I do think he gets moved. I just don't know how quickly that'll happen at this point.
And just like that, you just said, when you're dealing with someone like Deshaun Watson, you got to play it careful. The Texans are trying to make sure that they do get all that they possibly can get. And I don't think they shoot themselves in the foot, because I feel like whatever has been offered to them 2 weeks ago, they can go back and retrieve that same request a month from here, because it's Deshaun Watson.
But that's different than next season. Once you actually get to playing football, because if you telling all these teams that Deshaun Watson aren't available, teams got to make moves.
Oh, I definitely think he's going this year. So you think that he'll be going next year versus this year?
I wouldn't be shocked if week 1 of next season he's still a Texan.
Okay.
And it gets moved within the actual season is what I'm saying.
Okay. And I see it being done before then.
Yeah.
Because once once teams know this guy don't want to be here. Once teams know that they have a quarterback who we feel is a top 5 talent in this league, they're not going to rest until he's moved. Forget what the Texans want to do. That's not going to stop others from calling. And what I like about Houston is they have another player who they're trying to figure out what his future is going to be with the team. And to me, that's what makes this Deshaun Watson situation so appealing, is also the fact J.J. Watt can be moving on from Houston, or Houston can be moving on from Watt, for me to word that better. So I just think that makes it even more of a reason to move him off sooner than later if you're the Texans. But I think the Texans are going to play this slowly. Okay, we know what everybody is offering, but the longer we wait, the more desperate other teams get, and you're basically betting against yourself at that point. They got teams betting against themselves. You already promised me 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, okay, I got something better. We're trying to see what such and such cooking up. Somebody, 4. Let's do 4 and get this. You know what I'm saying? I just think they're in a situation where they can't lose. But I definitely think it's going to come down to where Deshaun wants to go. That's, to me, one of the most important things.
To make that type of fuss going forward. And I posed you the question. I said, so what if they don't want to trade him? Then what?
Yeah.
He's going to go out there and play football. Like, he's going to go do that. And it kind of seems like they're willing to do that right now. Because I'm hearing all the same things that you're hearing about. No, he's our guy. He's who we want to roll with. That's who we plan on having next year. And I saw it the same way as you did. As man, they saying the right things, but behind the scenes, they got to be working to get this dude out of here. He doesn't want to be here. And I read an article today via Bleacher Report saying how they're really out here turning down people's calls. No, we're not trading him. No, we're not interested in whatever package you put together. Like, no, we're going to stick with Deshaun Watson. Do I think he's a Texan throughout the next season, no. But now I feel like the trade gets done later rather than sooner.
Hmm. Yeah.
And what that does for what they can give, they're probably shooting themselves in the foot by going with it, by going about it this way. Because by week 2 or week 3 of next season, you finally decide, look, we just got to get rid of them. Then you've lost out on a whole lot of suitors and a whole lot of what you could have gotten for them now.
Hmm.
But when you have a talent such as his at that position, I can also understand why you're gonna try everything in the world that you can to convince this dude that this is still where you want to be.
Yeah.
Um, so I do think he gets moved. I just don't know how quickly that'll happen at this point.
And just like that, you just said, when you're dealing with someone like Deshaun Watson, you got to play it careful. The Texans are trying to make sure that they do get all that they possibly can
Mm-hmm.
get. And I don't think they shoot themselves in the foot, because I feel like whatever has been offered to them 2 weeks ago, they can go back and retrieve that same request a month from here, because it's Deshaun
But that's
Watson.
different. But that's different than next season. Once you actually get to playing football, because if you telling all these teams that Deshaun Watson aren't available, teams got to make moves.
Oh, I definitely think he's going this year. So you think that he'll be going next year versus
No,
this year?
I wouldn't be shocked if week 1 of next season he's still a Texan, and
Okay.
it gets
And I,
moved within the actual season. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, and see,
Yeah,
I see it being done before then,
yeah.
because once not a team, but once teams know this guy don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
here, once teams know that they have a quarterback who we feel is a top 5 talent in his league, they're not going to rest until he's moved. Like,
Yeah.
forget what the Texans want to do. That's not going to stop others from calling. And what I like about Houston is they have another player who they're trying to figure out what his future is going to be with the team. And to me, that's what makes this Deshaun Watson situation so appealing, is also the fact JJ Watt can be moving on from Houston, or
Yeah.
Houston can be moving on from Watt.
Yeah.
For me to word that better. So I just think that makes it even more of a reason to move him off sooner than later if you're the Texans. But I think the Texans are going to play this slowly. Okay, we know what everybody is offering, but the longer we wait, the more desperate other teams get, and you're basically bidding against yourself at that point. They got teams bidding against themselves. You already promised me 3 first-round picks, and
Yeah.
I'm telling you, okay, I got something better. We're trying to see what such and such cooking up. Somebody, bro, 4. Let's do 4 and get this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just think they're in a situation where they can't lose. But I definitely think it's going to come down to where Deshaun wants to go. That's, to me, one of the most important things.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with that's what Houston should do. But
Mm-hmm.
once again, there's the other factor in this that people fail to pay attention to, which is the head coach is tied to this. Like
Mm-hmm.
you got somebody who's finally gotten their shot at being a head coach. This dude is 65, I want to say, and this is his first time getting the chance of being a head coach. But
Mm-hmm.
whether you're a young head coach or an older head coach, you want to know, you want to tie your success to the best available.
Mm-hmm.
And the best available for this coach to tie his success to is Deshaun Watson. So he's going to try whatever the hell it is that he can in order to keep Deshaun Watson in house, because his success is tied to that.
But what success you're going to have with no draft picks and no future, and a JJ Watt who's not effective? I just think if he's
I mean,
trying to,
the JJ Watt thing, I feel like they was moving on from him regardless after this.
okay,
I want to say they
but
were trying to move on from him at the deadline last year.
well, they didn't trade him, which was so crazy to me, because they had good offers. I think they got up to a second-round pick for Watt at one point. But anyway, what I'm saying is he's not Watt, the JJ Watt he used to be. So
Yeah, of
what
course.
I'm saying is you have no defense at this point. If you're the Texans, you have no defense.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't have a good offense. The only thing that's good about you is your quarterback, but he no longer wants to be here. So,
but you just pointed out every reason why you want to hold on to your quarterback, because you
but
have.
watch this. But watch this. You also have no future with draft picks.
Exactly.
So by you trading this quarterback who don't want to be here, Now you can give yourself somewhat of a future. Not somewhat, you give yourself a future because of the haul you're going to get for him.
Correct. Once
Yeah.
again, this is not what I'm not disagreeing with you, but once again, you can also look at it as I can get a haul with these picks, but then it always gonna turn around to what do I do with these picks? Are any of these picks gonna be Deshaun Watson?
I would rather put that in my hands. I would rather put those picks in my hands and I have something to do with the outcome of these picks versus me resting my dependence on a quarterback who don't want to be here.
Yeah, we look at that completely different.
Yeah, because
I will put my money on the thing that I know is a sure thing, which is Deshaun Watson being a great quarterback in the NFL,
how
than having
great?
to trust my GM to draft whoever
Okay, so
to make my success on.
do you expect Houston's defense to be better or worse or the same as
Probably
this season?
the same. I'll say the
Do
same.
do you expect their rushing attack to improve dramatically than what it has this season?
No, not dramatically. No.
So you telling me the defense gonna stay the same, the rushing game gonna stay the same. We know the bad O line gonna stay the same. So how much better can Watson be, or how many more games can he win if everything's staying the same? That's all I'm saying. You telling me you're basing your success off of Watson?
What would them drafting a guard with a pick? What would them drafting a guard with a first round pick do for them next year? What's that gonna change?
What is changing is the culture. We're building a culture to protect our quarterback or protect whoever we get in house. Kind of like what the coach did. They had a great quarterback.
They had a great
beat the hell.
Then they built the O-line around him.
That's what I'm saying. He was getting beat the hell. He was gone by the time they got this great O-line.
No, they started drafting their O-lineman while Andrew Luck was there. Was the reason why they started forming that offensive line.
No, listen to what I'm saying. They start forming it, but by the time they became themselves to be the best at their positions that we know them to be, he was gone. Andrew Luck, the last year. Andrew Luck wasn't there last year. So by the time they got to be what they are now, best in their position, they never played that with Luck. But what I'm saying with Watson is the same thing. If you move on from him, maybe it take this first round pick 2 years to develop to be top 15 in their position, top 10, whatever. Just fit the scheme and be effective. Now we have a scheme on offense. We have enough players to have a great scheme on defense. Long as you have Watson, you have no future picks, and you got a guy who don't want to be. I just don't see how that works. Whether he throw for 350 and 4 touchdowns or 180 and 3 interceptions. That dude body language ain't going to change. He's going to play football, but I'm saying he's not going to do all the things that he once did to try to prep his team to win, make sure everything is in place. Why? I don't want to be here.
Yeah, I disagree with that. But more importantly, logically, as a coach, if me or you as a 65-year-old coach and we getting our first shot, which means it's probably our last shot at being a head coach in the NFL, the future don't really matter to me because I only got 2-3 years at this.
Well, you're doomed if you do, and you're doomed if you don't. If you're looking at it like that,
riding the back of Deshaun Watson. Just logically, if I'm looking at how a coach would be looking at that, because I felt the same about Matthew Stafford, which is the reason why I think they landed on Dan Campbell. Because anybody else stepping into that situation and saying, no, we got to keep Matthew Stafford as our quarterback. That's who I'm going to tie my success to, Matthew Stafford, not whatever y'all have whatever y'all have thought up, whether that was Goff or whether that was just parting ways with him and drafting somebody. That's the thing that moved a whole lot of coaches off of that job, because if you're not telling me I'm going to have Matthew Stafford there to tie my success to, then no, I'm not. I can go find a better situation than that, because that's what head coaches are always tying themselves to, their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So you telling me that, once again, I agree with you that it's best for Houston to move up off of them and get that everything that they can. But I'm also saying I can see how a first-time head coach wants to tie himself to the sure thing versus the unknown.
And we just disagree because I feel what you're saying. I don't want you to misquote me on that. I completely get what you're saying. Watson is the for sure thing here. But what I'm telling you is we keep using the word success. Nothing is successful about winning 6 or 7 games in the NFL. And that's the likelihood of Houston next year with Watson. So what I'm saying is, do you rather win 7 games with a guy who don't want to be there, and then next year you still don't have a first round pick, and I think the following year they don't have a second or something crazy like that? Do you
Yeah.
want that, or do you want to say let's win 3 games, draft top 7 or 8, trade this dude, get all these draft picks. Now we're using their picks, our picks. What I'm saying is, whether you're a head coach or what, to me, that just makes more sense than suffering with him.
That makes more sense if you're a Dan Campbell and you're a 30, 40-year-old head coach and you have a timetable of, look, I'm going to be a coach again, regardless of what happens, you know?
Okay. So let's give this coach that Houston just and I almost stay on this too long, but let's just give this
I mean,
coach
we already been on it too
yeah.
long, so keep
All right,
going.
let's give this coach a window of say 2-3 years.
Mm-hmm.
He wins 6 games this next year. They don't have picks, so he wins 5 games next year.
Mm-hmm.
He out of there. Point blank. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Is no way to get around that. Is no way. So
The
I just
and I understand what you're saying, but as me looking at it, if there is a way around that, is that the route of worrying about future picks or betting on Deshaun Watson making something out of nothing? Would be my question to you. Because if you
future picks for me,
how if you ain't gonna be there for the future? Like that's what I'm saying. We worried about our coach is worried about the present right now. He's worried about winning games because you saying 7 games with Deshaun Watson next year. That's 4 or 5 more games that he would win than not having Deshaun Watson.
And the outcome is still the same. There's no way you're gonna try to force me into. There's no way you can force my hand when you just had a coach trade Deshaun. That traded D Hop for a 2nd-round pick and a 31-year-old running back. I'm just saying this man is taking over a bad situation. It's kind of like the Carolina situation when you bringing on Teddy Bridgewater and Robbie Anderson. You lost Greg Olsen. You know he's no. It's a new situation. It's a new dynamic. Then you don't have Christian McCaffrey. I'm just saying that's not a good situation for a head coach to step in. Just like.
I mean, we know that. That's why he got the job. Like that's, yeah. But that's my point. But that's my point.
And that's what I'm saying. This is an unfair situation that he's stepping into.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no way around it. But as a head coach, as an organization, I just can't understand why it would make more sense to hold on to him just for the sake of winning a couple, trying this out for 2 years. In 2 years, he win 12 games, and then we still sitting here looking at ourselves with no way of getting better.
Yeah, and once again, as an organization, I agree with you.
Yeah.
As a head coach, what are you tying yourself to? That's my point of it. But once again, like I say, I see it happening, just no time soon. At this,
I got you.
From what I'm seeing and what I'm reading about.
Well, luckily for us, there's a whole lot of other quarterbacks that should be on the move or that has a possibility of being on the move. So what I want to do right now, I just throw a quarterback at you, let you know what their situation is, and you tell me where their best destination would be, in your opinion, if they're moved. So at first, they had a lot of talk about the speculation of Matt Ryan, someone who was a former lead MVP, led his team to the Super Bowl, and was very successful in the West Coast offense with Atlanta Falcons, with my boy Kyle, who I feel like could turn water into wine. But Atlanta, it seems, have realized the financial devastation that Matt Ryan would leave them in if he is released or traded. So in your opinion, where do you think would be a great spot for him if moved?
Atlanta. I think it's best for him to stay put. For them and for himself, honestly. They're not in a position to start fresh. And draft one of these 4 or 5 quarterbacks that we're looking at in the draft this year.
Okay.
So anything that you trade off Matt Ryan for is going to be less than Matt Ryan at this point, with no future, because the quarterbacks that we're looking at are all pretty, 30 around that age. So how much more of a future you're going to get from any of these quarterbacks? And then, like I say, how many of them are actually better than Matt Ryan? Like, I understand the financial, ramifications of some of that stuff, but I think Atlanta is in a position where they need to hold what they have for the most part, and because we talked about them a lot during the season, and hope that the culture change brings out the best of their team rather than trying to
Yeah.
move off the pieces and stuff.
Yeah. So I kind of look at Matt Ryan as the same situation as Matthew Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Matt Ryan is who I consider to be one of those tier two quarterbacks that I speak of quite a bit. And I feel like in the right situation, he can really look like an MVP again.
Yeah.
He still has very good arm strength. He still can throw the deep ball. It's not a pass he can't make, and he's not going to be the reason you lose games.
Yeah.
Saying that, I like him in San Francisco. If you can move finances to the side and say, let's not worry about his penalty. Let's not worry about what we have to give up to get him. I really like him reunited with Kyle in San Francisco in that West Coast offense where they run the ball with no matter what running back is available. They receivers are really starting to step up. We already know what George Kittle is. That's something, Austin Hooper was great in that run that they had when they reached the Super Bowl. You give him George Kittle with all the underneath stuff that Matt Ryan throws. I mean, man, I have no doubt in my mind that he'll light it up in San Francisco. But like I said, as of right now, it looks like he's staying put. So that breaks.
I read you can't say 49ers for every one of these quarterbacks. I'll throw that out there now.
Let me scratch it. No, I'm playing. You know how I feel about San Fran's offense, man. But it takes me to my next quarterback, a guy who had a very interesting story coming into this year that we're still currently in. This dude was a former MVP, got his team to the Super Bowl where they lost very badly to the Denver Broncos a couple years ago. Number one pick, Cam Newton, out of the league.
No, I'm playing. I don't. He will be in the league. He will be in the best situation for him or for a team is for him to be a backup quarterback, though. For him to be a second string quarterback. With that being said, could I see him starting next year? Yes. If so, where? A team like Houston. If they part ways with Deshaun Watson and don't actually want to take a quarterback back and they're just banking on their draft picks, bringing in a quarterback who's already ready to start and has started and proven that he's a starter in this league, while they let a quarterback sit behind him, I could see that. So I'm going to say the Houston Texans, although I think the best thing for him and for any team is for him to be a backup at this point. Versus a starter.
And for me, I'm not sure if Cam has humbled himself enough to really take the Jameis Winston approach and say, hey, I feel like I'm still a starter. I feel like I'm starting material, but let me go learn from one of these quarterback gurus, QB whisperers, or one of these great organizations that I could just sit back, I'm not asked to do much, and learn, then possibly go back and renegotiate. I don't think Cam has reached that yet. With that being said, there are some teams that have QB vacancies that I think he could step in and be better than who they have in-house and possibly save them their future where they don't have to give up draft picks or, guaranteed amount of money to any of these free agent QBs.
Now, this is going to be interesting because I can only think of one team. So go ahead.
Who you got?
Chicago.
And I have the Colts.
Yeah.
I think
I would, if I'm the coach, I would roll with Jacoby Brissett before I let Cam Newton start.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. That's a possibility. He basically sat behind
Phillip Rivers.
Phillip Rivers. I went there.
And he started the year before Phillip got
there. And exactly, yeah. And he got a contract. He got traded from New England, played well, got a contract, kind of regressed that next year, and then they decided to bring in Phillip Rivers. But with Cam going over there, he will understand that, hey, I got a chance of competing for a spot versus going sit behind whoever and just letting the chips fall however they fall. I think the Colts offense, they O-line, Jonathan Taylor has come to life. They found their running back. They still have decent weapons on the outside. So I really think Cam could step in that offense and not be asked to do a whole lot, and he could find himself and be protected. And we could see him play a healthier style of football than what we saw last year.
If Cam hasn't become humble enough yet to accept a backup quarterback position in the NFL, he's not going to get there. and then he'll find himself out of the league next season. If last season him not getting a call until the end of July and it being from one team who was just in desperation mode, if that didn't prove to him that he's 1 foot out of the league at this point, and humbled him enough to be able to be willing to go sit behind somebody to try to have a resurgence in the NFL, then he's not going to get to that point. He's just going to find himself out of the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, I just don't see that from him right now.
There's too many good quarterbacks available or seen as available this offseason for somebody to be banking that much trust in Cam Newton when one of these other guys might not cost them as much and might actually secure them for a longer stretch.
Well, see, although there's a couple QBs that's on the move, all these QBs necessarily don't make those teams better that have QB vacancies.
I don't think Cam Newton makes any team better, unless you want to say Chicago, and that's still debatable.
It's very debatable, but I feel like there's a chance that he goes there and start and be better than what you have. So it may not make us better instantly as a team, but he's an overall better choice at quarterback than what we currently have.
Is he though? Like that's my thing.
I'm not saying it's like, I'm taking him over Mitchell Trubisky. It's not a question.
Yeah, and we've discussed this a few times, even on the show. What I saw from Cam Newton last year, none of it was good. And I'm not even talking about fair to do. It is fair to do because once again, it's not about. Because we talked about this plenty of times. It's not about the talent that was around him. It's the throws that he was attempting to make that he just couldn't make. It's like the Carson Wentz thing. We looking at Carson Wentz and saying, "Hey, bro, you hurt your leg. Why you can't make these passes no more? Like that don't make sense." And it's the same thing with Cam Newton. He can't make passes that he could have made 2 years ago. And we talked about it. He wasn't ever able to make every pass that needed to be made. So he was already limited in those regards. And then last season, he looked even less of that.
And I think it had a lot to do with just no separation. How many times we seen New England play football last season? Cam run around, he gets sacked or he throws it away, whatever. Then you see the replay and nobody's open. Like that was the same thing when Tom Brady was there the last year. It's not that Tom regressed significantly because his numbers dropped in every category for a quarterback. Nobody could get open, bro. Is nobody who you have to fear. So
Cam Newton missed a lot of passes last year.
True, he missed a lot, but also a lot of people just couldn't get open.
And once again, I'm not knocking him for that part of it because once again, he was working with the same talent, if not less than what Tom did.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah.
But he missed a lot of passes. He couldn't make throws that he had already been able to make, like I say, just 2 seasons ago. He's regressing.
I feel you. And like I said, if you tell me that he's going to be better than Jacoby, I can somewhat believe that. If you tell me they both have the same equal opportunities at camp, of course, Cam has to learn the playbook, so Jacoby will go in with a step over him. But if Cam somewhat overtake him mid-season, or if Jacoby plays bad the first 3 weeks, and now you insert Cam. I'm just saying I can see that happening, and I would, if I'm the coach, I'm opening that with open doors with open arms because I don't have to overpay for him.
And once again, that wouldn't shock me at all. And I like what you just said, not having to overpay for him. If he's taking a deal like he took last year with the Patriots, and he's understanding that it's a competition,
he's not gonna have no choice.
And he's understanding that it's a competition, then that's fine. But I'm not banking any type of
I'm not going to say
Cam Newton. So that's why I say best case scenario, he's a backup next year, or he has a Houston Texans job.
Gotcha. Bring me to my next quarterback, who I feel like is now my quarterback. I'm hoping he's my quarterback. The guy who actually
go ahead.
He signed the 1-year deal with the New Orleans Saints last year. Really didn't get a lot of playing time, but I'm more than sure he feels very comfortable with the playbook. And more than anything, the fact that Sean Payton speaks so highly about this individual, it makes me believe that we really have our quarterback in-house, as he said, Jameis Winston. First, let me get what you feel about Winston, where he can be available and ultimately where he will land.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. We talk about this all the time. He's a saint, and um, I don't need any more confidence than Sean Payton and the way he speaks to this man. The way he spoke of him, even while Taysom Hill was the one out there starting for us during that 5 game stretch, was
Hmm.
revealing of how he really felt about Jameis. And then now that the season has ended, he speaks of Jameis as if he's already under contract next
Right.
season.
Right. Like the
um,
ink already dry.
yeah, like he got this man locked up for 10 years. That's how he talk about this man. So I definitely think that Jameis is back in house next year.
Hmm.
But if for some reason he slid outside of the Saints organization, then I could see I like the Colts. I like the Colts. I feel like they weren't awful with Jacoby Brissett as their quarterback. I feel like Jameis Winston can give them. Once again, it's been a year since we saw him as a starter, so we don't know exactly what the turnover thing. Like, I don't if he's put that under control, his turnovers, he can get the Colts team back to where they were this year with Philip Rivers. If he's
Hmm.
not a turnover machine, um,
Hmm.
and he's a quarterback that's not going to cost too much. He's not going to cost as much as some of these other quarterbacks may, mainly because they're talking about being traded for. So he's a free
Hmm.
agent quarterback who you can probably bring in on a deal similar or probably less than what Teddy got with Carolina last
Oh,
year.
way less. Yeah, way less.
And well, we thought Teddy should have got way less. So that's why I say it depends on how you look at it. But I can see him going in there and getting them back to the same place Philip Rivers got them to last year. I think that would be a
Okay.
perfect fit for him, honestly.
Okay. So there's only one place that I would like to see Jameis Winston next year, and that's our New Orleans Saints. I
Yeah.
feel like he'll be doing himself a disservice. Well, not a disservice because he didn't have a lot of options. I'm more to show some other teams was interested. But
Mhm.
I feel the ultimate decision for him, the reason came from him realizing he can sit behind one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever do it and one of the greatest offensive minds to ever call plays, Sean Payton, and actually learn. Like unplug, let me see what they're doing. Let me see how
Yep.
I can be more consistent. Let me see how I can better myself. Oh yeah, Drew's probably out of here next year. This can be my team. He knows the playbook. He's comfortable with the coaching staff. He seems to be in some of the best shape of his life from what I've ever seen him to be.
Yeah.
He don't have to go here and be a leader in our locker room. He just have to go out here and not lose games. That's it.
Yep.
And I feel like he can do that for us. I feel like he's the best quarterback that's on our roster if he's brought back next season. And I feel like it will really be his job to lose. You spoke about Teddy Bridgewater. I feel like the only difference with Teddy was that Teddy came to New Orleans and he had an opportunity to play. I think it was 5 or 6 games.
He played
Was it
five.
five?
Yep.
5-0. He played 5 games where he was called upon. The first 2 games was kind of shaky, kind
Hmm.
of like the Taysom Hill first 2 games. We didn't open up the playbook as much. We won one low scoring game. I remember with Dallas, it was something ridiculous or
Yeah.
something, I believe. But then Teddy went to Seattle, put on a pretty good show against Russell Wilson, and we pretty much blew them out until they scored a late touchdown in the fourth quarter. Why they even went for it, I don't understand because it wasn't a game at that point. But Teddy had games where he showed he can put the ball in the air and his legs still work. He can do some things, and I feel like that's why Teddy got that opportunity to get paid. And I feel like that would be the difference why Jameis Winston didn't. If Jameis Winston would have got the opportunity that Taysom Hill had this year,
Hmm.
playing in was it 6 games? Was it
Yeah.
5 or 6 games?
I want to say it was 6. Yeah.
6 games. I think he went 5-1 or something like that as a
Hmm.
starter. Now, if Jameis Winston would have got that opportunity and would have went 5-1, we know his numbers would have been decent, better than what Taysom Hill's was, or whatever. Uh, of course, not the impact running the ball Taysom Hill had, but I think Jameis Winston would have showed, hey, I can read coverages, I can make throws,
Yeah.
and I can not turn the ball over in this offense. Then I think we would have a betting war on our hands. But I feel like him just having to beat out Taysom Hill in camp,
Hmm.
knowing Sean Payton is going to call this as fair as he possibly can. I feel like it's his job to lose.
Saints fans, listen to me. Listen to me for 1 second. Listen to me. Taysom Hill will not be our quarterback next season. Taysom Hill will not be our second string quarterback next year. Listen to me. Give up all hope on that. It's not going to happen. We know better now. He gave him 5 games or 6 games. Throw out the record. Go back and look at these games if you want to. Tell me that man is a good quarterback. Tell me that man is a quarterback at all. Please.
Sid been saying this for years.
And somehow
and
people still are vying for this man to be our quarterback.
He's our quarterback as of right now, Sid. This is real life, bro.
Don't know what we got on paper right now. But hopefully by camp, we got Jameis Winston in the house. We have a draft pick in the house. And then we have Taysom Hill. And then we roll down.
It's so funny. I remember we had the conversation, the what if Drew go down? And I'm like, well, he's our quarterback. No, Reg, he would not be our quarterback. There's no way that man is our Drew go down. Sean Payton stuck to his word, put him in. So, and a lot of Saints fans love him. In fact, I would say more Saints fans love him versus hate the idea of him actually being our quarterback. I would say it's more 80-20. 80% of Saints fans want to see him get the opportunity to be our starting quarterback. They love what he can do with his legs. They love he welcomes contact, and he's just a hard-nosed football player more than anything. They feel like that is enough to make us that much better with the help, of course, of the defense and Sean Payton.
I'm not signing up to watch Tim Tebow in 2021. I'm not. That's and that's probably and it's probably disrespectful to Tim Tebow for me to be comparing him to him. So I'm not signing up for that. The man can't read a defense. The man's mechanics are poor. And he's already 30. What are we gonna do with that, Reg? Like I won't go too far down this rabbit hole because you know how we can get on this.
Right.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next one.
That's definitely something we would keep an eye on. Which brings me to another quarterback that I want to speak of, who I actually thought was going to be the whole vocal point of this offseason with the way this season started, and that's Aaron Rodgers, with them taking a quarterback in the first round. Him saying, well, obviously I'm not retiring in Green Bay. I have to play this thing out, weigh out my options, and see what's the best thing available for me the latter part of my career. When a quarterback of that, the reputation that Aaron Rodgers has, right, as a quarterback.
Yeah.
When someone like that becomes available and you know he can still play, teams go crazy. They sell out to get these guys. I really thought he was going to be the quarterback or the player we talked about the most this upcoming offseason. Green Bay has already closed the door on that, said that they'll be bringing him back like they should. And I would say for a couple more years, not just next season, but for a couple more years. Which brings me to a quarterback who I could have seen in black and gold on Sundays. I'm not a big fan of him, but I do like him, and I would have definitely welcomed him. Derek Carr from the Raiders.
Yeah.
There's still reports out there saying that he's possibly can be shopped around. We already know how his coach Gruden feels about the backup quarterback, Mariota. They seem to have liked each other. He's liked his style since college, and it seems like he can really see a future with Mariota. So Derek Carr, I think he still has, is it 2 years left on this deal?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's 2.
2 years left. They can be possibly moving on from him. Where do you see the best fit for him if he is moved?
So Derek Carr is probably the only quarterback outside of Matthew Stafford that's actually that we've talked about. Well, Matt Ryan to a degree. Derek Carr is a quarterback I feel like can fit in anywhere. I don't think that he has to be a part of a specific scheme to be successful. I think he's just a really good quarterback. And give him the ball and let him go. So I'm going to take your team on this one. I'm going to say the 49ers.
Okay.
That's a hell of an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo. Not even the marginal one that they need in order to be successful. That's a hell of an upgrade. And he would definitely then we're talking about the San Francisco 49ers in the same light that we're talking about the Rams right now. If you get a guy like Derrick Henry there, I mean Derek Carr, I keep saying Derrick Henry. If you get a guy like Derek Carr there, then you're saying, well, look, they got the quarterback. They got the quarterback that's not going to go out there and lose anything for him. And if need be, with the talent around him, he can go out there and win a game for you.
Definitely.
So then we're saying, oh, well, now the 49ers are contenders, just like the Rams and Green Bay and Tampa Bay. That's not the type of quarterback that the 49ers absolutely have to go out there and get. Because once again, a lot of these quarterbacks that we're talking about are better than what they already have. But Derek Carr that's a marginal, like that's a big difference between
Yeah.
him and a Jimmy Garoppolo. And that can
Yeah.
definitely put them in the NFC Conference Championship game next year.
One thing I like about Derek Carr is although I feel like is a good quarterback, I have him in that top tier 3, possibly can slide into that tier 2,
Mm-hmm.
given the situation, given the scheme that he's in, the coaching staff, whatnot, and so forth. And you just spoke about the possibility of what he can do if put in San Francisco. So there's this team that I'm not a fan of. In fact, I hate to see this team. I like to see this team lose because I really dislike their fan base at times, and that's the New England Patriots. The Patriots need a quarterback. The Patriots can't afford to give up draft picks at this current position that they're in because they have to rebuild. Even their players that are proven are starting to age on the defensive end. And I don't think they're going to keep getting top-notch play out of their secondary how they have for the last 2 years. Possibly they will even have to move on from one of these corners that's well known to bring in a quarterback or another skill position. I feel like Derek Carr would be a good transition quarterback for the Patriots for many reasons. He's not known for winning necessarily. He just got a run game with Josh Jacobs coming available. But I feel like he would be the perfect quarterback who's not too old, not too young, that the Patriots could still groom and they don't have to let go of the farm in order to get him in. If you do move on and take him, the Patriots have players like Stephon Gilmore who they have to pay. They're not sure if they're going to pay him. So like New England normally do with corners, that's still good. They trade them. So this would be a situation where Oakland needs a corner. New England needs a quarterback. Okay, we have a base that we can start, and let's add to it until we can get where we want to be on terms of agreement. But Derek Carr, I definitely think is going to be moved, if not this year, then next year. And I definitely see New England being a contender in that.
If they don't move him this year, I don't think they move him next year. If they don't move him this year, I think they let him play out the rest of his contract because obviously the confidence or the liking that Gruden has for Mariota isn't as strong as we believe it to be. If he makes it, if he makes it as their quarterback this year, obviously that liking is not as strong as we perceive it to be.
But I think Mariota only has one more year on his deal, which is this upcoming year.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I say if Derek Carr doesn't get moved this season, in favor of letting Mariota start, then what obviously they didn't like
Oh, okay, I
Mariota.
see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm saying next year because we're currently still in football. But yeah, okay,
yeah,
we're saying the
yeah,
same
yeah.
thing. All right, I got you. Yep. And that brings me to the final quarterback. And I hate to stay on QB so long, like you said, it's just so many of them and it's so rare
Yep.
that I feel like we have to touch bases with this one. This guy has a very unique situation. He was brought in as a late rounder, stepped in, won a bunch of games, got a playoff win under his belt, and I don't want to say took the world by storm, but he won his locker room over pretty quickly, replacing Tony Romo, and that's Prescott. Given the situation with the injury, we knew he was already in negotiations with the Cowboys that really wasn't going nowhere.
Oh,
How do you feel that this plays out?
I don't think Dak budges. Even now, even after being injured, I don't think he budges. But also, I never thought Dallas was going to budge either. So before he got hurt, I said they're gonna let Dak play out this season. They're gonna franchise tag him. If they can't come to an agreement after another year, they let him walk. Now I'm looking at it as, look, they offered you what they offered you. You fucked around and got hurt. Bad luck, but that's on you. I could see Dallas just moving away, clean slate. Like, look, we just moving away from you. Yeah, they saying all the right things right now, and all that sounds good. But I can easily see they were buying for Matthew Stafford. They're going to be in talks with all these quarterbacks that become available this year. And if it comes down to it, I wouldn't be shocked if they roll with Andy Dalton next season. That wouldn't shock me at all. I don't think after all of the money that they put into our offensive line, who's now aging and just breaking down because of injury, the money that they've invested in Amari Cooper, the money that they've invested into Zeke, then they got to their quarterback, who you're supposed to take care of first, but why would they? He's a third, fourth round pick. So you get to your quarterback, and now you're saying, as our quarterback, we need you to be the one to take the pay cut because I done took care of everybody else already. And it's not a position that they can move. It's not a situation that they can avoid at this point. Like they can't pay him the world without getting rid of some other pieces at this point. And I think that they're willing to bet on we could get another quarterback and pay him for less, and with the pieces that we've already invested in, we can still make something out of it instead of losing more pieces in order to keep Dak Prescott in house. So I think Dak Prescott is out in Dallas after this season. I think he finds his way to Washington.
So I told you before the injury, I don't think Prescott comes back to Dallas. Mm-hmm. And the writing was on the wall.
Yep.
Every offensive lineman that Dallas had that's worth mentioning, with no hesitation, was made the highest paid in their position, respectively. Yep. But they were made the highest paid. Then you trade for Amari Cooper. Offense takes off. Although Cooper shut down in big games and against top number ones, you made him the highest paid receiver in football. We all know running backs come a dime a dozen these days. And Zeke, who was coming off of his worst year as a player, you took care of him. You made him the highest paid running back in football. Then you get to your quarterback, which is the most important piece of the team. And you want him to compromise. You want him to take a pay cut. You want him to understand you have a salary cap, but you didn't do that for nobody else. Mm-hmm. One thing we know about Jerry Jones, if the Cowboys have a player that's already on their team and Jerry still wants him, he pays him. If there's a free agent that Jerry wants and he wants him bad enough and he can't live without him, he pays him. He don't want Prescott that much.
See, I honestly think that this situation is different, honestly, because in most cases, I agree with you. Like if Jerry wants a guy, he absolutely does whatever it takes to keep the guy. I honestly think the situation is different. I think he does like Dak Prescott, but once again, the timing of it, really fucked over him. If we're being honest about it, the fact that all of these great offensive linemen, because they were great offensive linemen when he paid them. For all of them to come up before him and then Amari Cooper to come up, but because once again he was a rookie when he started and a third round pick, so you're not tied too much money to him, and all these other contracts came up before him. Lawrence, what's his name? What is his name? DeMarcus Lawrence. Paid him too.
Linebackers, everybody.
Yeah, you paid all of these, and once again, I can't say that none of these players deserve the money. It's just it came in an order that was that made it almost impossible for them to keep him for the price that he wants at this point.
And see, this is why I'm saying I'm not using it as an excuse. This isn't Jerry Jones' first year being over a team. He's not new to the way the salary cap works. He doesn't get surprised by numbers. When you're paying these guys, you understand sooner or later their deals are going to come back up. You're going to have to get them to renegotiate. You can't keep giving out top dollar.
This is why it's an excuse for me, because you say that he doesn't get surprised by numbers. I guarantee you he's surprised by the number that Dak Prescott slid across that table. If it's $40 to $42 million.
So how much?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, and which was, I'm quite sure in direct correlation of the Patrick Mahomes deal, of him seeing, Mahomes got what, $50 million? That means my asking price needs to go up. But before Mahomes got that deal, it was what, $35 million, which is what they offered him.
Okay, so and the reason why it's still not an excuse for me, because if you're gonna tell me he was surprised by Dak asking for money based on Patrick Mahomes' deal, is no way he wasn't surprised by Amari Cooper asking for more money than Michael Thomas and D Hop. Is no way he was
He wasn't
surprised by
surprised by it.
that.
Mark Cooper got $20 million, right?
He's the highest paid receiver in football right
He's
now
tied for
currently.
the highest paid. Yeah, he got $20 million.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you get DeMarcus Lawrence, who got paid like he Von Miller. He got Von Miller Khalil Mack treatment. I
I don't think
mean,
he got paid much, but he did get paid.
yeah, that dude got like I want to say 18 million or something like that a year for DeMarcus Lawrence. I
Yeah.
mean, JJ Watt got 20, and that was cream of the crop for years.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's no way you found a way to do that for those guys, but then it gets to the quarterback position. And I'm not saying he don't like Dak Prescott. I just don't feel he loves Dak Prescott.
Yeah, because I mean, would you love Dak Prescott when it comes to you parting with whatever these other pieces are? I guess and
I,
that's what it comes down to. Do
I'm
you
gonna
think
put it.
Dak Prescott is more replaceable than everything else that you paid already and built around you? Built around.
I am going to say I would rather have Dak Prescott on my team if I'm the Cowboys than any other player that they have paid thus far.
Well, we're not talking about any other player. Now we're talking about making cuts. Now we're talking
Okay.
about getting rid of people. And it's most likely going to have to come at a sacrifice of more than one player. So you're
Yeah.
talking about getting rid of a few pieces in order to keep Dak Prescott. Is he worth that? Is my question.
But I don't think he's worth. I don't think he's worth that, because if you tell me I have to cut two of those guys, then Dallas is really not worth talking about, because
Exactly.
with all the talent they don't win. But what I'm pushing, right? My point is, this didn't surprise him. He had years to get Dak signed up for whatever number you wanted to say. This should have been resolved last season, not the one that we're still in that we're waiting on the Super Bowl winner. This should have been put to bed last season.
By whose standards?
By the NFL standards. You don't let a
A third
quarterback
round pick? A fourth round pick? No. No, we don't do that.
bruh, if you
We don't
feel
do
like
that
you
because
hold
what am
on.
I paying a fourth round pick? What am I paying a fourth round pick?
And so look, so why okay, and I understand you with your third round pick, fourth round pick, whatever, but forget pick. You have found your franchise quarterback. That's what it boils down to.
Obviously, that's not what he was convinced of.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. He likes that. He's just not in love with that.
Well, in that case, I'm the same way. I like Dak. I don't love Dak because I'm 100. Like the Carson Wentz, the Jared Goff, those guys got paid. That was the same draft class, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those guys got paid. Those guys got the Super Bowls. Yeah. I'm not going out of and they were first round picks. I'm not going out of my way to jump the gun on paying Dak when he hasn't gotten me anywhere.
And my thing is, with Dak being a first round draft pick, if his career has stayed the same and they found themselves in the same situation, I just don't feel like he would feel any different about that, whether he was a first round draft pick or a fourth round draft pick. You can't base that on if I'm going to re-sign my franchise quarterback. You don't play with that. You don't let that franchise guy get into the final year of his deal.
Well, you don't know if he's your franchise guy, is the point.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. I don't feel like they feel. I don't think that they feel Dak is their guy 100%. The way they felt like they couldn't live with Amari Cooper. We can't live without having DeMarcus Lawrence rush off these ends. We can't live without Jalen Smith running sideline to sideline the way he do. We can't live without losing Ezekiel Elliott, who we feel like is the best running back in football when healthy. But when it comes to Dak, I think that's where they say, okay, there's no way we overpaying for him.
And I could agree with that. I could agree with that. I can see how you saying that they looked at all of those positions and said, those guys are at the best of their positions. We're going to pay them as such. And they got to Dak and said, you're not the best at your position. We're willing to pay you this, but you're not
exactly.
the best. I can agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, because you have a lot of people, especially Cowboys fans, who kind of feel like Dak is asking too much, or this just kind of caught us off guard, or that's the case. But it's not that it caught you off guard. It's not the fact that Dak is asking too much. Maybe he is. Maybe I
I
can't
was
vouch
about
for
to
that.
say
Maybe he
but
is asking for too much. However, if this is your guy, right, you're
yeah,
not gonna overpay others and not take care of him. If you're doing life, if you're looking at it life, I'm not gonna overpay for a car, overpay for a pet, overpay for a living room set, overpay for my man cave. But then when I get to the house, now I'm trying to cut corners. Nah,
yeah.
bro, like that's backwards. You know what I'm saying? So I think that he likes that. He liked Dak Prescott. He can see a future with him. He's just not willing to overpay and bet the house on him.
And I think, and yeah, I agree with you. I think that he even likes Dak enough to where if it didn't take any other moving around to get him that money, he would actually give it to him. But like you say, he's invested in so much outside of Dak to where now it's I got to cut costs elsewhere in order to
Yeah,
keep Dak around. You're not worth
yeah.
that to me. And
Don't
I
tell me he
yeah
start. Yeah, don't try to convince me he started thinking about saving once it came time for Dak. Nobody didn't tap him on the shoulder and say, "Hey, bro, we need to start thinking about this budget." When it came to Dak, that happened long before Dak. It's just he don't think Dak is the player that others are. So that was the
and
last
he's not.
quarterback. I'm
I
sorry.
want to say he's not. Like I don't.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't be paying him Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers. I'm not paying Dak like that. Now, I said I think he ends up in Washington. I think he does end up getting paid like that, and great for him. But if
Right.
I'm an
Just not in
organization,
Dallas.
yeah, if I'm an organization, I'm not paying Dak like that.
Gotcha. Well, that takes care of the quarterback questions. Will bring us to our last and final topic for today, which would be prediction for the Super Bowl. We have the Kansas City Chiefs playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady got them here, hosting Super Bowl in Tampa. How do you see this one playing out, and who do you take to win?
And Kansas City is a 3-point favorite going into this game too. I'm taking Kansas City. Which is crazy because they're in a position now to where they might be without two more of their linemen if things don't go right over these next few days. And
Yeah,
even in those regards, I'm still taking Kansas City. Um, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback we've probably ever seen. And if anybody tells you anything different, they're lying. Like this is the best quarterback that we've seen. And this is what his third year as a starter and his fourth year overall, and his second Super Bowl. Andy Reid is one of those coaches that we've always said is one of the best coaches in the league. And this is he got to the Super Bowl with Philly, and now he's there twice with Kansas City. So let's do it like this: Bruce Arians or Andy Reid,
Oh, Andy Reid,
Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes at this point.
Patrick Mahomes.
You gonna take the receiving core of Tampa Bay or the receiving core of Kansas City?
Kansas City's more dependable.
Okay. Tight ends. You gonna go Kansas City?
KC.
So defense. Let's just go overall defense.
Overall defense, Kansas City.
Really? Because I would take
Yep.
Tampa Bay in that. I would take Tampa Bay in that regard.
And all the reason why I say it is because when you say overall, I feel like Tampa Bay have more stars or more recognizable faces and names on defense. However, when you throw in the fact that okay, your defense may be better, but because my offense is so much better, how can y'all stop us? I feel like they're gonna hold the same weight. They're gonna average out and be about the same.
Okay, yeah, I think yeah, I would roll Tampa Bay, but I can see your logic in that one. So I mean, you just went scratch. Like everything you just picked was Kansas City.
Definitely.
And everything you just picked was Kansas City. How do they lose? You know?
Yeah, definitely.
And the only way going into this game, when I first looked at this matchup, the only way I could look at Tampa Bay and saying, oh, that's how they won that game was them really getting to Patrick Mahomes,
Mm-hmm.
which is so hard to do. Not only, but I mean, their offensive line, Eric Fisher's not going to be playing. There's going to be weaknesses along that offensive line whenever they line up against that Tampa Bay defense, but you still got to get to Patrick Mahomes.
True.
You still got to get to him. And I sent you a graphic the other day showing his percentage of completed passes on the run is higher
Mm-hmm.
than
Then,
quarterbacks
yeah,
completed
standing still.
in
Yeah.
general. Yeah, standing still. I can I don't see a way. I mean, the only way is turnovers. If you're going to force Patrick Mahomes into a lot of turnovers, and then still you're probably end up finding yourself in a shootout. So it comes down to which quarterback do I trust more, which receiving core do I trust more. That's Kansas City across the line. So I'm taking
And
Kansas City, and I'm going to say that it's still a close game. I'm gonna take Kansas City 31-27.
so if you was to ask me how can Tampa Bay win this game,
Mm-hmm.
I only have one answer, and that's Tom Brady. I'm not willing to bet that Tampa Bay defense wake up and become faster, smarter. They can confuse Pat Mahomes and derail this KC's offense to make them not be what we've known them to be. This is an offense that have overcame double-digit leads in 3 straight games in the postseason and went on to win a Super Bowl. I don't think this Tampa Bay defense is going to give them problems like no other defense has. With that being said, the only guarantee, the only for sure thing that we know to some degree about Tampa Bay as a team is Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. This is the guy that you don't want to bet against. This is the guy who normally wins big games more than lose them. Even if he's not playing spectacular, I don't see him putting his team in a bind that he's the reason that they're behind in this particular game. So if you ask me, how can Tampa wind up beating Kansas City? I'm not going to necessarily say it would take Tom Brady to just flat out be so much better than Pat Mahomes come Sunday, but I think it can be Tom Brady making key throws in key situations to keep his team on the field, and then in the red zone just being lights out. And I can see that being the difference in Tampa Bay beating KC.
Yeah, and I can't see. There's nothing in me that can see Tampa Bay winning the shootout. That's why I say if Tampa Bay was to win, it's based on a defense being able to force turnovers and doing what
Mm-hmm.
every other team in the league tries to do against Kansas City, which is chew clock. Try to eat up
Yeah.
time and move the football down the field with Tom Brady, which I'm sure they can do. But once
Mm-hmm.
again, it's about that defense being able to not get scored on, which I'm not confident that can be the case.
I can see Tom Brady having almost a perfect day against this Kansas City's defense. It's nothing in his defense that really concerns me facing Tampa Bay's offense. I trust Tom more than I trust his weapons. Everybody revert back to how great his receiving core is. This is the same receivers that drop a lot of balls as well, though. This isn't the Gronk of 4 or 5 years ago. This isn't Antonio Brown 3, 4 years ago. They're still, I don't want to say learning, but this is their first year playing together. So we see in the playoffs, we've seen Tom make wonderful throws, and not all of them was caught. I feel like that will happen more than Tom having an off day. I really think Tom can go out here, call KC's defense up. Pat Mahomes might do the same thing to his defense more than likely.
Exactly. That's the point.
But yeah, but if anything crazy happens to make Tampa win his game, to me, I think it's Tom showing why he's the GOAT.
I think Tom, like I said, I think Tom can go out there and have his way with that game. Tom can go out there and have the perfect game, and it's going to end like the Philly game did
Mm-hmm.
a few Super Bowls ago, with him being on the wrong end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes down to the fourth quarter. Which offense do you trust to score quicker, Kansas
Mm-hmm.
City or Tampa Bay? Kansas City. That's why um, I can see a scenario where Tampa Bay is up 27-24, game on the line. Patrick Mahomes got 2.5 minutes. I trust Patrick Mahomes to go get that touchdown. Even with less time than that, I trust Patrick
Yeah,
Mahomes to go get that touchdown, and I can see this game coming down to that. So yeah,
I got you.
like I say, the
Well,
only I can't I don't see Tom Brady having a bad game. I see Tom Brady being Tom Brady. I think that offense is on the roll. That offense is going to roll. Who gets more stops? I think Kansas City is able to get more stops, and that's going
I
to be
agree
the
with you.
difference. You know?
Yeah, I agree with you. They're 3 point. I saw 3.5 earlier. I have them winning by 7. I have scored 41. I say 34. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. But if Tampa Bay, it would be very interesting if Tampa Bay starts hot offensively and defensively and get an early 10-point lead or early 14-point lead, because KC normally starts slow. And if they do that to Tom Brady, I'm not sure they will be able to come back and win.
I'm sure they'll be able to.
Yeah, that's what me and you would be watching for. If Tampa do go up double digits, 10 or 14 early, at any point of the game for that matter, if they up double digits, I think it's going to be pretty hard for them to come back and win.
I don't think there's a team in the league where it'd be hard for them to come back and win, and it's just because of what we've seen over the past few years with this team.
They didn't do that against Tom, though. You know what I'm saying? They beat Tom before, but they didn't find themselves down. I don't think double digits.
Yeah,
Either the one they won or the one that Pat Mahomes won or lost. I don't think he was ever down.
No, not like that. Yeah. And
so,
I'm not. Once again, I love Tom Brady. I respect Tom Brady as the GOAT. Tom Brady only play on one side of the football field.
And so does Pat Mahomes. And so does Pat Mahomes.
True. They play on the side that puts up points. And once again, you said that Tampa Bay team, if that defense come out there start out hot, and they are able to allow that Tampa Bay offense to go up 10, 14 points, cool. Now what, though? You know, you're going to be able to keep allowing that offense, because then, once again, then it's back on the defense.
True.
How many more stops can we get, you know?
Yeah, okay. I tell you what, there's something, like you said, with these rabbit holes, we could jump down and go down forever.
Yeah.
But given the fact that this has already been, I wouldn't call it a lengthy show. I don't have the time in front of me. It feels like a normal show to me.
It's a lengthy show. No.
It's a lengthy show, okay. We're going to go ahead and end there, and we'll just keep that one. That's an in-house bet. I told you so between me and you, if it even comes to that.
Exactly.
So, so I don't know if you have anything else to go over sports-wise for this show.
No, man, that is it. That is it for today. Aaron Glenn is our not Aaron Glenn, but I told you earlier, Chris Richard is now the New Orleans Saints secondary coach, which I find as a perfect transition from one coach to another. I don't think we could have got a better replacement right there.
Exactly.
NCAA football is back. I saw that earlier, so I'm excited about that. That's sports related. Next week we will cover the Super Bowl. We'll probably get some NBA talk in. There's been some interesting things going on with Brooklyn, with the Lakers, and with the Clippers.
That's a show by itself. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll definitely tap into that next week. We appreciate y'all for listening. Once again, we love feedback. Give us all your feedback. Give us questions. We're going to be doing this thing over the off season where we bring in people to talk about specific teams. So we're looking forward to that. But man,
definitely looking forward.
That's all I got for today, man.
All right, thank you guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Nigga, I'm in the league, you boys not in my league. If you listen close, I'm coaching, take heed. Cause the boy hella dope without pushing a Blanco. Still stabbing bitches like 94 in the Bronco. If it's about the money, I'm leaving them hoes pronto. If I don't do nothing, I'm about line so.